Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought another fantastic group of independent comic book creators. And without further ado, I'm just going to bring on that first guy. He's the pinch hitter, because, of course, the other hitter, you can't trust that guy.
The other hitter took a vacation, decided to take pictures of his pins in Connecticut because the lighting was better.
Yep.
I don't want to hear him ever say anything about my lake ever again.
So, Tom, introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, guys. Tom Hutchison, writer, publisher, art director, sales guy, graphic designer, whatever you need at Big Dog Inc. Outside of the drawing and coloring of the books, that's going to be me.
All right, cool. Let's bring on the first. I don't want to say victim, but Eli, how you doing?
Victim works. Yeah. Hello, I'm Eli Beaird, the creator of card game Scattered Nexus, also a illustrator, graphic designer, video editor. It's just, I think we're probably all going to be wearing at least a dozen hats.
Yes.
But yeah, long-time indie comic fan, long-time tabletop game enthusiast. Yeah.
All right, cool. How you guys doing?
Hey,
Hi, how's it going?
Yep. What time? I know you guys are in Europe. What time is it over there?
it's just gone 12:30 in the night, and we did a show yesterday that ran till about 5 o'clock in the morning over here. The sun was coming up when we went to bed, so we're pretty we're pretty shattered. And England just lost in the Euros, so we're kind of devastated about that as well. It's been a hard day.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Sorry to hear that, but
Excited to be here.
I won't keep you up quite that late. But all right. So let's bring on John. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. It's good to meet you.
It's good to meet you too. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Yes, sir. So I'm John Schell. I'm a writer. I've been making indie comics for about 5 years now. I'm also a co-owner of Bentbox Comics. Me and my partner Chris O'Hara, we run the show over there. Very small indie publisher. Just started out about 7 months ago. Really hitting the cons hard this year, trying to get out there. But yeah, I love indie comics, man, and that's why I'm here.
All right, cool. How you doing, Dave?
Hey, I'm Dave Swartz. Again, any comic book creator, I do it all. Right now, I have a Kickstarter for my self-published book, Confederate Monster, which is like Frankenstein meets the Civil War. So I write that book, I draw, I color, I letter, I graphic design, I promote, I do it all. So glad to be here.
All right, cool. Pleasure to meet you.
You too.
And long time friend of the show, Mr. Ozzy. What's up?
How's it going, guys? My name is Ozzy Longoria, owner of Gemini Comics. Been doing comics for 25 years. Right now, I'm doing a series for the Sword and the Sorcerer, and also doing a mini-series for the Road, also for a company in New York. Yeah, and I have a Kickstarter too, or Indiegogo actually, for the same.
All right, cool. We have one more person who may show up. His name is JD Rosario. He's my normal co-host, and all I can ask is that when he finally gets here, we all shame him. Okay, so late, because it's just terrible on his part. Him thinking about family before the show. I mean, I'm just
The nerve.
the nerve, exactly. But no. So, gentlemen, we got our show question. Here it is for everybody. And this question is very open-ended, and it means a lot of things to a lot of different people. So, however you answer is how I want, however you feel about that question. And, so there it is. What freedom do you seek through comics? Right? So that's the question, right? And like I said, all of us are thinking about it probably a little bit differently from the next guy. So, so let's
Could you repeat the question? I didn't quite hear.
What freedom do you seek through comics?
What freedom do you seek through comics?
Right. So let's start with somebody new. Ozzy, you've been here a bit, so let's start with Dave. What are your thoughts?
Sure. I would say, I sought freedom to create the vision that I had for my stories my own way. I really enjoy I really enjoy working with, other creators and, having someone, dictate to me what their vision is, and creating that for them. But, for me, I think I really enjoy the concept, or at least the idea of, writing, drawing, marketing, just doing it all myself. I don't know. I like the freedom of all that. Yeah.
All right, cool. John, what are your thoughts?
Man, that's a pretty loaded question. I think that we are all probably going to be on the same page here, but for me, freedom to create, get the stories out without any. I don't want to say judgment. So everybody's going to judge you, and you can't make everybody happy. But freedom to express yourself, right? So we all have these stories, whether they're dark, happy, whatever. Being able to get those out to people, to the world, to me, that's therapeutic. It helps me mentally, to get that out to the world and kind of feel connected to other people, other creators alike. So for me, I would say, the freedom aspect of it is, just being able to do what I love to do, get my stories out there, and be able to express who I am through them. So breathe life into comics. That's what I always tell everybody. You can literally take what's in your head and put it on paper, get it out to the world. You're literally breathing life into something, right? Creating something. That's the closest we're going to get to God on this world. So that's why I really love what indie comics are all about.
All right, cool.
Good answer.
Harrison, Finn, what are your thoughts?
Do you go first?
Well, I think Dave and John really hit the hammer on the head there. The hammer on the head, the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Like the carte blanche, the ability to put out what you want to see. Like, of course, you want to see a dinosaur rip apart a robot. That's what we want to see, and that's what we create, and it's amazing.
And I think from my side of the thing as well with comics, I've done a lot in terms of animation, making video games, making TV shows, writing novels and things like that. And the thing I love about comics is it's quite like the happy medium between the amount of effort required to get a visual compared to everything else. So if you're programming a video game, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of hours of work to get where you want to be. Whereas with a comic, that time is much compressed, and you can get, we have shots of T-Rexes and all sorts of different dinosaurs in a submarine, off the coast of Lisbon, all this crazy stuff. And if I'm doing that with a 3D modeling or something like that and an animation, it takes way longer. So I like that immediacy you get with comics, which you don't really get elsewhere.
All right, cool. Ozzy, what are you thinking?
I think the freedom to be creative is very important for everybody's soul. We have to, well, first also the financial freedom, that we can do the way we want it, which is very important. You don't get that from working with a big company. Yeah, that's you guys said it. It's very important just to do the things you want to do.
All right, cool. Eli, what are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah. I like what a lot of you guys are saying. I have these thoughts, and I think I'm strange. But if all you guys are thinking the same thing, then maybe I'm onto something. But yes, I know humans have been making stories since the beginning of humanity. It's a very natural thing to do. And I feel like we live through our stories. I find myself, when I am creating a story and navigating these fictional worlds, it helps teach me about how I could live through my life and have a good story in my own existence. What a good ending is, how chapters end, how people come and go out of your lives, and how those things are over. I do think there is a little bit of that God complex as a part of it, being able to create something and dictate how these characters' lives are going to come and go.
Are we supposed to shame this is the guy?
He likes it. Man, you're not going to be able to shame that guy. But yes, being able to create and share your own experiences, I think, is a great part, especially in the indie world where you can kind of tell your own story, the story you want to say. You don't have a big publisher over you dictating what's appropriate or what's going on. You can have a more raw experience and get out what you need. So yeah, it's great.
All right, cool. Tom, I'm gonna ask the important co-host. Tom, what are your thoughts?
So I think the obvious answer is what everyone said, is creative elements, creative freedoms, doing what you want to do. But that's a very specific, I think, to indie comics type of thing, because if you were to be working in comics and working for Marvel or DC, you wouldn't necessarily have that creative freedom. So I think that's a unique indie comics sort of aspect, the creative freedom to literally do, draw, write, whatever you want to do. And that's great. And I agree with all of that. But for me, because I've made comics literally what I do, the freedom for me is the freedom to live the life that I want to live. Right. And this isn't that I'm buying houses and boats and I've got summer houses and all this kind of stuff. But
he does have a lake.
I have the lake, but there's nothing floats on it. But if I want to do 20 cons in a year, I don't have to go ask my manager, hey, I need time off to do Comic-Con, right? It's just I go. If I want to take extra time to get there or come back, I just do it, and I have that time. If I want to watch a movie in the middle of the day, I watch it, and then I stay up later at night to finish whatever work I got to do. My time is mine, and I can mold it and shape it however I want to do it. I'm not 9-to-5 guy. I'm not that kind of stuff. So for me, the creative aspect, it was sort of the starting point, right? Like, wow, I can actually make things. But as I got into this deeper and deeper, I've been doing this 14 years now. As I got into it deeper and deeper, I really started to learn sort of almost the privilege that comes with being able to create to a capacity where you're paying your bills and stuff, because it can change your entire life, financially or just, generally speaking, like I said.
All right, cool. Good. Jay, how are you? How was your drive? Everything was okay?
I wanna thank you for letting me on so late. I am the king of double booking. All right. I was at a family barbecue and sat in 2.5 hours of traffic through the tri-state New York area. If anybody knows what that's like, I only went 16 miles, but hey, 2.5 fucking hours, right? I had fun. I was fire kissed by the grill today. Drank a ton of beer. I didn't have to fucking drive, which was a positive. So I took a nap. I'm well rested. And only had to drive 2 exits. But I'm happy to be rocking and rolling. I see a lot of new faces on the show. I see some older faces. Ozzy, what's up, Bubba? Hello, Harrison, Finn, Dave. Eli, John. What's going on? Thank you all for coming through, sharing your stuff with everybody today. When it comes to freedom, I have the freedom to work on whatever I want. That's the great thing about being an independent comic publisher. But I do have that 9-to-5. So I do not have the freedom of time to go and promote where I want, when I want, or even the live stream circuit, right? I'm limited in what I can do there. But that does also come with the benefit that a lot of my creative brethren do not have. And I got a pension coming, right? And this is not me knocking anybody at all. This is not me not trying to put anyone down at all, because I have fought the 9-to-5 job tooth and nail every day of my fucking existence for the past 20 plus years, right? But I got a pension coming, guys. I do, right? I got 20 plus years in 5 years. I can retire with a full pension and not have to worry about where my next check is coming in from. so that way I can work on whatever book I want to, and I'll have the freedom to go wherever I want to. Right? I have the security of my benefits being taken care of, and how many of our creative seniors have we seen, reach out to the, I want to say it's the Heroes for Hire Network, but that's not it. What is it? The
Heroes Initiative.
The Heroes Initiative, right? To help with some of the benefits that they don't have. Yeah. I mean, even may sound stupid, but even if I didn't have the pension from the job, I've been paying into Social Security for more than 35 years, right? Mm-hmm. So I've got that, and how many of our creative brothers and sisters didn't even factor that in when they're going through their journey. And again, it's not me knocking anybody. It's me trying to let folks know we get fucking older, right? Right? I'm playing the back nine of my 40s. Calderon and Tom, they're on the other side of that right now. I'm learning the fucking hard way. I can't play baseball as hard as I used to. I'm not that invulnerable person. I take that first step like a lot carefully than I used to. And I never thought I'd be there at that point, but that's something that I got to think of in the future going on. But going back to the freedom of being able to write what I want. Sometimes you do need that structure. You're right. Sometimes you need to be confined to that box to figure out how to use every square inch of that box. And that helps you to sometimes become a better creator. Right? I want to use the George Lucas prequels example. He got to do it all on his own, and look at how those turned out. It took 20 plus years for it to flourish and be cherished the way the earlier stuff was. So having that creative freedom is not always the best thing either.
Right. You don't see him complaining with all that money.
Oh, of course not. Of course not. Hello?
But see, the thing with the prequels, right, is that the first time through, he had people helping him along the way. He had Irvin Kershner and he had these other guys. When it came to the prequels, he had a bunch of yes men going, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. And so while the creative freedom wasn't really the problem, it was that he had no checks and balances. He had nobody to actually say, do you think Jar Jar might not be great?
Not only that, he didn't have his first wife anymore. And I know some people don't look into that, right? But his first wife was the editor on Hope and Empire, I believe, right? And then Empire also had a check with Kershner where he would send the dailies late and he would strike the sets early. So by the time Lucas got to see the dailies and said, okay, we need to change X, Y, and Z, Kershner was like, okay, cool, we'll do it. But I've already struck the set, so we're going to spend another 20,000 K to rebuild it and this much time, where he was just like, fuck it, go. Right? So those were the checks and balances in place for him. Those were the corners of the structure that confined him to this unit, that reeled in his freedom to an extent, but we had a better product out of it, right? Jedi is not as strong as Empire and Opa is. So there's pros and cons to any way you look at this question, dude.
Yeah. So I don't even like to get editors because that's
you got to, project. Bro. You got to. No. You need somebody to fight with. You need.
So then it's not your project. Then it's not your project 100%, because there's someone else who's.
You need somebody. You need somebody to question why you made that decision, right? Because if not, when you put out the book, you're gonna have egg on your face when you don't even have the answer for it.
Well, the thing, there are different ways to go about it, right? You can have someone who does copy editing and proof editing. Those are two different things than story editing, right? Because there are three layers to it, right? You got a story editor. That's what Ozzy has probably a complaint with. Copy editing and proofing, those are two different things. That's somebody making sure your things are spelled correctly, making sure you're using the right grammar, so on and so forth. Somebody who's copy editing is making sure your facts are correct. So if you say XYZ thing occurred in 1776, it actually occurred, or this building is in spot A and non-spot X.
Right.
Those are the differences. So
or sometimes, and Ozzy, this is not me trying to knock you, brother. Sometimes when English is not your first language, you may be using a phrase or two that you think, all right, this is good, this is the way it is, and unfortunately, that's not how it's applied, right?
Well, yeah, I do get proofreaders. I hire them, and I take my sweet time on the script. That's for sure. Like obviously, I take my time. It's just proofreading it, and pay for someone, send it to my friends to read it.
Always.
But at the end of the day, if you have an editor, they will tell you what to do, and I'm not. It doesn't matter how it turns out. It will be my result.
I think
not
that's
someone else.
I think that's just a discussion with the editor, because, for example, you could have an editor, whatever the term is, right, for just continuity, even like, hey, read this. Does it make sense? Like, did I foobar something along the way? Make sure the continuity is right. So versus like telling you, hey, I think there's a better idea for this. It would be more like, hey, I think on issue 3 you said something about you were on floor 12, but in this one you're saying you're on floor 10. So let's fix the continuity. So there's those kinds of editors too. Yeah. And I think it's just a matter of what you hire somebody to do. So if you come in and be like, just read it and make sure it's clean, that's one thing. Because I don't want to hear what color you think the costume should be. I just want to know the story is clean and everything makes sense, and then leave the rest to me.
I was going to say, also in my experience, some editors do come off a little pushier than others, but it is always supposed to be a suggestion. As you being the creator, you do get to make that final say. I've had editors that are very upset is a big word, but when they're like, hey, here's 12 good reasons why you should do this, and then I say, that's great, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to go to do this right anyway, and then they just have to deal with, like, what are they? There's not too much power they have as much influence as you give them.
That's it.
If you have a partner with like, oh, I'm going to be the artist, they're going to be the writer, then that's a different dynamic. Or I'm going to collaborate with this person, then that's a different thing. But as a creator, I believe you should have the final say.
You don't have to hire the editor for your next project, right?
Well, hold on, Dave. Did you have something you wanted to add? Because it looked like you wanted to say something.
Oh, I mean, I really don't use editors much myself, except for like a proofreader, or I do have trusted friends that I send things to who are also comic book creators who I can trust that are going to give me good feedback and not just be like a yes guy. So I think it's good to have like a good set of collaborators just to bounce things off of. Even if it's not as formal as somebody going through the whole book and giving you a huge rundown of every little thing, even if it's just a little read through, like Tom was saying, just to make sure that everything sounds good and it feels good and it doesn't, feel weird or rushed, or, cause sometimes it's the pacing of the book, how the story feels. Does it feel like it's rushed? Do you feel like it needs more room to breathe,
Yeah.
Cool. I don't know. I'm gonna answer the question real quick. So yes, my answer is basically all of your answers. So there you go.
Wow.
What a cheat.
Freedom to Jay, please don't start. I will boot you.
Get out of here! Get out of here, kid! My answers, all of your answers.
You know what?
Rules.
Here it comes. Yep.
Anyway.
No way, you did it.
Sometimes Jay needs a timeout. He's like a big little kid. You know what I mean? Like, but especially big. But
damn.
But listen.
And the
Jay,
next time I'm gonna make sure I bust your ass when I see this.
Okay, so see what I'm talking about? That's just the way it is. That's But look, we're from New York, right? We don't live too far from one another, and this is how we. If we weren't breaking each other's chops, we would know we wouldn't care about one another. That's how we know we care.
Yeah, it's a similar thing in England. I think we have a similar sense of being mean to one another. But can I just say, just as a little, your guys' New York kind of accent, it's amazing. I feel like I'm in almost like a Spider-Man thing. It's just, I'm just enjoying this so much. It's great.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, but seriously though, the reason I do comics and the reason I've always done comics is because when I was a kid, you know, I was raised in the hood, you know, raised in a bad part of town. You know, shit would go down daily. Oh, really? Where were you? Where were you, Jay?
I was in East New York. You were in a very
Right,
posh neighborhood. Your father was a
Right,
rich
Charlotte,
businessman,
asshole.
right? He had you living on the 17th floor of the
No.
highest class building. You had servants. You had people to take you to school in the morning. Come on.
You know, it's funny. You know, it's funny for someone who I just met like 2 years ago. Doesn't know shit about me. He actually used to buy comics from my father's grocery store.
I did. We didn't know this until a few years ago. His father used to own the in New York we call them bodegas, right? The corner stores, and he owned the corner store on my grandmother's block. So I remember as a kid going to grandma's house and buying used comic books for 50 cents a pop, and it just so happened to be Calderon's used comic book.
Yeah, there were books I used to buy at conventions that you could get like a long box, like $20, and it was just like fill them with whatever. And I would take them to my father's store, I would drop them off.
Yeah.
But it was escape from that. I mean, you know, Jay knows you see horrible shit all the time, you know, growing up, and you know, it was just escape. You know, it was just escapism. Yep. You know, between that, video games, role playing games, you know, anything I can get into to escape from that reality, that's what I did, and that's why I stuck with comics. And unlike Tom, this is my very expensive hobby.
Yeah,
I am that 9-to-5 guy, just like Jay, but you know, it's my very expensive hobby, and that's what it is. And it doesn't matter how much money I make at it, and I do okay at this, but all of it goes back right into the product. You know, and I could probably triple what I'm making, and it would probably still put it all back into the product. You know, because it would just afford me to get more artists, better artists, you understand, and put out more books. So, you know, that's me, but I'm a little obsessive weird like that. So
yeah, I think it's in our
We
blood
all
to
are.
create.
Preaching
Yeah.
the choir.
yeah. Well, yeah, no, we're all independent comic book creators. We're all fucking crazy. So, you know,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
So, Tom, seeing as you showed up on time, what's your question?
I have no questions. I have a question. Which one of you has backed my Kickstarter? That's the question. And I shame everybody. No, I'm kidding. Well, I'll just kind of piggyback off of what JD just was talking about as he was a kid and he kind of got into comics. For me, it's kind of interesting. I'm just going to answer the question and then you guys can answer. But for me, I was always into comics and, you know, movies and TV. I mean, I was a pop culture kid, but I never in my life as a adolescent had a thought process of, I want to make comics. I want to be in movies. I want to make TV. Like I never had that. I was pure consumer, you know, basically my entire life until I was in my 30s, maybe, when I kind of just said, can I even do this? Like, is this even something that I can possibly do? And I just started to tinker around with it as a side thing, to learn like what is a script and how does it look and what am I supposed to tell the artist and, you know, just learn all these things. But it was never really the intent for me to like, hey, I want to make comics for a living, or I want to be an actor, or I want to be on TV. Like none of that. I was pure consumer. And I'm not really sure exactly what triggered me to finally say, let me see if I can do it. But it eventually it happened. And when I did it, the bug kind of got in me and I ran with it, I think is basically how I found my way into this bizarre place. So I'm kind of curious as to where you guys were. Was there a moment when you were a kid that you were like, I want to make comics, or is this a new thing for you? Like it was for me. How did you really find your creative bug and trigger that kind of went pop? Let's go.
I feel like I talk a lot, so I don't know if I should go first or last. What do y'all think?
Go ahead.
I got introduced into comics Mine was a manga. I had Shonen Jump magazines when I was back in middle school, and they were black and white, and they were cool, and I liked them. And by that time, I was been drawing my whole life, so I just started doodling, drawing my own versions, and then I started trying to tell stories. They were originally just copies of whatever I was reading, usually, but I was trying to keep up with the manga. They had 15-page chapters every week, so I was like, okay, so that's what I need to do. So I tried to make 15 pages every week, and that story sucked. I wouldn't recommend ever reading it. But after I got out of high school, I wanted to start doing it better. And I started working on my own comic, going to conventions more frequently, got involved with my local indie comic group, and then that kind of I got mad with power. I could just make these stories and make people feel sad. I love making people cry when they read my stories. It's my favorite thing. Because it's just some ink on paper that I handed them, and now they're having feelings. And I like having that power with people. And then also, same thing for game design. I played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in middle school and started making my own cards. And the 2020, I was like, oh, what if I made a game about indie comics? Because I knew so many indie comic creators. And that's kind of what started Scattered Nexus. Just my desire to promote, talk, and share these stories that I always loved. Oh, and also secretly rub elbows with some of my favorite comic creators. When I'm a big fan of creators, there's not a real good reason to talk to them except for being like, you're awesome. But getting them all in like a game or something was a good way to meet them and interact. But yeah, so that's kind of the catalyst for me.
All right, cool. Dave, what are your thoughts?
For me, it was pretty early on. My Uncle Joe used to take me and my brother to a comic book store where we live in Michigan, and we were going. I think I remember going as young as 7, 8 years old. We used to be able to pick out your favorite book each time, and so I kind of had a little collection going. And my favorite thing to do was to find my favorite page within each book, typically a big splash page of the hero, and draw it as close to what I saw as possible. And I did that since age 8, and kind of just kept doing it. Just really loved drawing. I guess I never really anticipated doing comics as a full-time career. It was, I guess, something in the back of my mind that I always kind of thought could be because of all of the drawing that I had been doing, and the fact that when I first started, I had such a passion for it. And then I got into high school and decided I was going to be a rock star for a little while, and then that just sort of fizzled out, and had to kind of figure out what I was going to do with my life. And art school seemed like the logical place to go. But I got a graphic design job after that, and kind of came back around to comics because it just called out to me, and I wanted to do a job where I was drawing and doing traditional kind of art rather than design work. And I kind of had to teach myself how to be a writer because I'd really trained to be an artist my whole life. So I'd really been practicing, little pitch stories here and there on the side until I felt I was confident to really tackle a full script, and been doing it for about 10 years now. So.
All right, cool. John, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts. Oh goodness, my story's probably a bit different than all you guys. But I was actually I always say I was born into the indie comic space. So I didn't grow up on comic books. I really didn't know much about comics until about 10 years ago. So I was around like 22-ish, 23, when I watched a really horrible movie with a few of my best friends and went, man, there's so many trash movies. What's going on? And we talked about the movie outside the movie theater, and I'm like, well, what if we could make a movie? Right. And so we started talking, and we're like, well, one of my buddies, his dad was actually an inker for Marvel. And he was like, well, I kind of like know that movies come from comics, so maybe we get into comics. So we started talking, and from there, we came up with some zombie story. It was absolute trash. Yeah, I got into it that way. So me and two of my buddies started creating comics, and we all ended up going our separate ways. still really good friends. In fact, my business partner came full circle. Now we're working together again after 10 years. But everybody had families, and it was like right out of high school, right? So that transition of like, not having responsibilities to all of a sudden having responsibilities, and we're like trying to get into comics, but we all ended up having to go our separate ways. So here we are, 10 years later. I ended up deciding to keep trying to do comics, and I wrote a zombie story. Really just loved the process. You're in charge of the team, and you're working with all these different creators and all these different minds and things involved. I love the aspect. I felt like I was, it had meaning to it. I felt like I was doing something right. I wasn't like, instead of me having a boss, I felt like I was finally able to be a boss and kind of control my destiny. And I felt like I could do that through comics. So, um, I made that book. I never ended up releasing it. It was sent to me. The files were corrupted. The colors were all jacked up. I spent like $3,500 on it, and it all just got flushed down the toilet. So I didn't know what I was doing. Right, I went on Facebook. I'm like, hey, anybody know how to make comics? Boom, boom. It was a dumpster fire. So I ended up taking a break for about a year, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make the next best thing, and started writing comics and realized I'm not going to be making the next best thing. I've got to figure out how to make comics before I make the next best thing. Right. So I ended up going to YouTube, and it's funny, Tyler Draw and Talk commented on here. I looked up how to write a comic book script. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. And the first thing that popped up way back almost 10 years ago was one of his videos. It was actually like 6 years ago at the time, and it was about like how to do a comic book script. And so I watched the video, and I was the guy playing with GI Joes back in the day, and they were doing flips and stuff over people, right? And I was creating my own stories in my head when they were fighting. And so I took all these stories. I grew up in a really dark place. My childhood was really dark, and I got out of that. And so I took all these stories, happy, sad, angry, and I started to script them out, right? And in doing so, I've actually been able to write almost every genre of book because of those emotions and putting them out on paper. I was the friend that everybody kind of came to and was like, hey, what do I do in this situation? You're so good at putting yourself in like somebody's shoes. So you can probably help me through this. Well, I did that in comics. I took a creator, or took a character, and I put myself in their shoes, and I allowed them to make choices throughout their story, and every choice they made, it just kind of went in that direction, right? And so I continue that with different characters, different parts of me. I say, I don't write myself into comics, but each of us put an element of ourselves in our comics, right? And that's what happened with me. And so I've been able to publish. I just finished about, literally 45 minutes ago. My third campaign just ended on Kickstarter, successfully funded. Super happy about that. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm still small, right? I'm still trying to get out there. It's been a long road. Right before I released my first book, my daughter passed away, and so from that, my whole perspective on writing comics and creating stories completely changed for me. It was originally about making the next best thing, like I was saying, like trying to be the best, and it changed to like leaving a legacy behind, like putting meaning into comics. Like when I die and somebody reads my comics, are they going to feel something? Like you said, Eli, being able to bring that emotion out of people and make them feel something, like I want that. And I've been told that some of my books do that. And that's what means the world to me, is like that connection with somebody, right? And I think that's what we're looking for at the end of the day. As humans, we're looking for connections with other people, and we can do that through comics. So I know that's a little bit long-winded, but that's how I got into comics, and that's how I'm going to continue comics. I wrote a book about my daughter. So when I say that you get to breathe life into comics, that's exactly what I got to do. I created a character about my daughter, right? She's a personified cherry blossom. I got to, even though she's gone, I got to experience those emotions with her, the adventure with her through comics. That's what comics are all about, right? And I got to do that. And I think that's where my love and passion really is now at, when it wasn't before. So a little bit about me and kind of where I came from.
I wanted to just pause and say that's an amazing story. And I just want to hear you talk more about stuff. I see why people come to you to be like, hey, I'm going through something. Tell me about it. You just give that energy. I love that.
I took this, it's really even like, I mean, I'll be very transparent. It's hard for me to be here. I took a step back after my daughter's passing, and I kind of became a recluse, right? I got into heavy drinking. I got really like in a really bad place, right? And she spoke to me about a year. I almost died from alcohol poisoning, and she spoke to me and she was like, what are you doing? And this is the message I want to kind of bring to people is, she said, what are you doing throwing away your life when I didn't even get a chance to live, right? And so for me, it was like, that's what I want to help people with, right? We can be in really hard places, but at least we're here, right? At least we're able to affect and be a light to other people. And in my darkest moment, I heard her voice, and she told me, get your shit together, stop being a bitch, pretty much, not that a child would say that, but get up, and stop having this self-pity party about your life when I didn't even get a chance to live in my honor, create in my honor. And then from that point, about 2 years ago, my story's completely changed. Just everything about comics and how I write them changed for me. So
A lot of heart.
Never feel that you're small.
Exactly.
So proud of it. This is a really hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ozzy, you want to answer the question? How do you feel about it?
Well, I am from Mexico. My dad is a barber, so he always had comic books there. He had dirty magazines too when I was a kid. But that's when I started loving comic books. I used to just do what Tom did, just copying them and trying to do sequences. And then my mom used to take me to see Bond movies, or when I was a kid, so it was inappropriate, but I think that feed my imagination a lot. Well, she used to take me to all kinds of movies, not just Bond movies, but you know what I'm saying. Like it's not appropriate. Like horror movies, I used to watch, and so I started doing my comic books based on the movies, like doing side stories or my first full comic book when the movie Lost Boys came out, and so I did a short story. First, I did a like a the movie in a comic, and then I did all the characters. And I still want to do that because that character, the grandpa, is one of my. I want to do a comic book about him. But anyway, so that's when my life changed completely. Is when Jim Lee and Claremont released X-Men #1 in '91, and that derailed completely my life. I was going to college, and I decided to drop out. This is not what I want to do. I just want to do comic books, and I tried. I did a few comic books, but at the beginning it's hard because you don't know all the things that you need. All the There's so much knowledge you have to have if you want to do it that way, obviously, like Jim Lee way. But uh, I stopped going to school, and I found out a mentor, and I found probably the best in Mexico, which is a professional who was doing comic books for 40 years or something like that. And he actually is the only Mexican who won the Eisner Award. He's a winner for the Eisner. Unfortunately, he passed 2 years ago. But he teach me all the things that you need to do. And he actually brought me to the U.S. He brought me to San Diego Comic Con in '99. And I was trying to get into Marvel and DC, but I couldn't do it because I was new, and they really don't hire new people. You need to have experience, and so I started doing indie comics, and I haven't tried to to go for DC or Marvel, because I love the freedom, like we were talking about, the freedom that you have by doing indie comics. And I've been doing it for 25 years, and I think I'm doing great because right now I'm doing a comic book based on a movie, and I'm collaborating with hundreds of people, and I think Jim Lee changed my life completely.
All right. That's cool.
That's cool, man.
Harrison, Finn, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was a childhood fan of comic books. I loved Asterix and Tintin. I attempted drawing sequential art as a child, but I just never had the patience for it. So I tried writing more. I developed my writing skills more at film school. So I'm working on different filming projects, some like narrative short films and music videos. And it didn't take until I met Cheeky Chappie over here to sort of help me inspire new sort of writing. But sort of like what Jay said earlier, that we have a collaborative editorial process that me and Harrison works really, really well. We keep each other in check, make sure we're still on the same train tracks.
And for me, it's funny actually, John. You're mentioning the GI Joes, and I saw Jay. You responded a lot to that. This idea of when we're kids. I was watching Power Rangers as a kid, so I'm a '90s kid. I was born in '93, so Power Rangers really it caught me perfect age. And my mum said the only reason I let you watch that show, Harrison, because it's a very violent show, is because there's a story and there's a moral, and these guys, that there is this team energy and there's morality to it. So I would take the toys and I would choreograph fights just all day long, just choreographing fights as much as I could. I just loved it so much. And then you start wondering, well, why is she kicking him in the head? And you go, oh, that's because he did this and all that. And then you just start building these narratives up. And then you grow up and then you get more sophisticated with those things. And I then kind of fell away from that and got really into video games. And that was when I started learning how to be a computer programmer. And I was going to make video games, and then that's how I ended up getting a degree in computer science. And then at my university, I'm just about being interviewed to do. I was going to go down the PhD route and all of this, and I just had a complete breakdown. I just couldn't. It was just not my path. And my AI supervisor, she was the lecturer who was going to sponsor me to do my master's. She ended up saying to me, oh, Harrison, you should read this book. The ideas you're talking about in these sessions really remind me of him. And it was Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. So I took that home, devoured it, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be a novelist. And that was about 10 years ago. And I'm now a novelist, right? So I went on and did all that. But in the meantime, when I dropped out of university, for my first time I dropped out of university, in England, we get what's called a maintenance loan. So we get given a bunch of cash just to live, but you don't have to pay it back immediately. It's quite good terms.
As a student,
that is, yeah. And I ended up dropping out. So I was in London and I dropped out, lived back home, but I never told student finance that I had dropped out. So they paid my last 6 months or so of my maintenance loan. So I had about $3,000, which is, as you guys are probably aware, it's about the sort of budget to make a comic book. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. So I hired an artist, I hired a letterer, I wrote the script, and we made this like kind of kung fu mashup comic about these monks that kind of kidnap an MMA fighter and pretend that he's like this prophecy guy, and they've completely tricked him. And their temple is about to be taken away from them because they failed the mortgage payments. So that was like 10 years ago. And then I meet Finn. So I'd stopped making comic books. I was writing novels a lot. I had varying levels of success with novel writing and fiction and prose. So I meet Finn, and he's this comic book guy. And I know sort of a sudden, we're chilling, we're getting high, whatever it is. And we're like, dude, let's make a comic book. And now here we are making a comic book about shape-shifting dinosaurs. So I think it takes a team to inspire one another to keep going, because it's hard. It's hard, like failing all the time, getting nowhere all the time is exhausting. So it's nice to do it with someone else.
Yes, like even bad times can be good if you have the right person suffering with you.
Yeah, exactly.
This is true. This is very, very true. That's why we get together in these groups. These are like,
Yes.
yeah.
This is therapy.
Emotional support.
Yeah, these are
Yeah,
therapy
Alcoholics
Emotion.
Anonymous. Yeah. Oh my god.
Hi, I'm
Anonymous.
Finn. I'm an indie comics writer.
Yeah.
Cool. Jay, what are your thoughts?
I'm a dreamer. And the plain is, I'm a dreamer, right? Like Calderon said, I grew up in the hood in New York, and my mom's two greatest gifts were comic books, because she saw they were the only thing that I was reading, and comic books because it kept me off the street from being a knucklehead, right? But also, G.I. Joes were cheap when I was growing up. So, John, when you said that, G.I. Joe was $2, right? And shit, $20. That was Toys R Us. What? Right? But I was a dreamer, and here is my definition of dreaming, and this is a legit thing. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with G.I. Joe, but there was this one figure named Outback. He was pretty much Chuck Norris because they couldn't get the Chuck Norris license, right? So if you remember Chuck Norris from Missing in Action, but with red hair, and that was Outback. So I got the Outback figure, who was my favorite, and he will wear Batman's cape from the Kenner Superpowers, and he was holding on to Chris Starr's sword, and he was riding Battle Cat from He-Man because he had to go save Strawberry Shortcake from the evil Soundwave and his minion of Smurfs who were held up on the Robo Force Castle, which looked like planet Krypton. All right, that's where my fucking dreams came from. All right, that is the legit 100% absolute motherfucking truth. Okay, I used to tie a little rubber band around. I used to crisscross a rubber band around Outback, and that's why he was able to hold the sword. But I was always dreaming. I was always telling the big fish stories, right? I always wanted to do comic book. Could have done fucking anything else. I really could. With the acumen I've gained and developed from becoming a small independent publisher, which is really an entrepreneur, right? A small business owner. I've learned all of these different areas of running a small business. I can go and pretty much be a hell of a lot more successful doing almost anything else. But it's still going to come back to comic books, right? Oh, man. I'd love to run a pizzeria. Can I make the pizzeria a comic book themed pizzeria and sell my comics in the front? No, fuck that. It's going to come back to comics. Why put the cart before the horse, right? It's always going to come back to doing comic books. And like you guys, it was my love, right? I told you all earlier, I didn't want to fucking do the 9-to-5 job. I fought it tooth and motherfucking nail. But doing it has helped me get to this point, because as an independent publisher, you're in the red a lot. A lot. And if you don't got some revenue stream coming in to help you keep those lights on, you're dead in the water, man. All right?
Says the guy that doesn't have his lights on.
Bro, it is hot in New York City today, bro.
Yeah,
everywhere. I got two fans pointed at my balls and an AC right now. All right? It's fucking hot.
Oh, man.
I like that. One for each nut. That's good.
Oh, man.
You need one of these.
There you go.
Oh, I finished one already. And that was after a full day. Yo, it's so fucking hot in the tri-state area of New York. The second you crack open an ice cold beer, steam starts coming out. Not the frost. The fucking steam starts coming out the neck of the bottle. And it's just like, God damn it. Couldn't even enjoy a beer today, man. So fucking hot, bro. I was running a grill. And this is the fucked up part. I'm fat, and the grill is supposed to melt fat and grease, not on my fucking ass, okay? I'm still a fucking motherfucker, because every time I was fucking putting on a piece of chicken, I got to taste it. Every time a dog came off the grill, you had the uncle tax, right? I had to grab it off the kid's plate.
That's why you can't start a pizzeria.
I can't start a pizzeria. But I also can't start a pizzeria because the creativity in me, I love to cook. I love to be able to put something together and see people enjoy it immediately. Comic books, you have a long sloth to get to that point where you get a reaction from the book. shit, my campaign for New York versus the World ended, two months ago? It's only today that people are starting to post that they got their books. Shit. Right? With Emil, it's immediate. And you're being creative. You're having fun. There's also a little bit of chemistry involved. But whatever, it's comic books. You're right? We're all here because of comic books, plain and simple. And because we have creative spirits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. I think I pretty much answered this question the last time when I answered the other question, right? So it was just escapism for me. So it was always a thing of just wanting to get out. And it's always been a thing for me of like, wanting to create the best books that I could create, right? And, and I've said this over and over again. It's like, I'm trying to be a better writer today than I was yesterday. And tomorrow we'll try to be a better writer than I am today. And it's just that constant struggle of trying to be better than myself. I'm not trying to be better than anybody else. I just want to be better than myself. There are definitely things that I aspire to, like when I was a kid, one of the first comics that truly inspired me was Frank Miller's Daredevil 168 when Elektra's first introduced. And, I've been chasing that ever since to write something as good as that. You understand? And I mean, and that's what I'm chasing, amongst many other things. But those are my goals. So, let's share somebody else's. Eli, do you want me to play this video? Eli?
You're on mute, Eli.
Yes, let's do it.
All right. Now, like I said, I just set up this system. I don't know how this is going to work, so hopefully this works correctly.
Wait, you got the new computer up today?
Scattered Nexus is a battle-style card game based on a growing list of indie comics. This year, we're having even more comics enter the multiverse. The magical knights of Errant, the mysterious soul-bound beings of Djinns, the wacky shenanigans of the Wild Blue, the sophisticated scandals of the Pauper's Prince, the eternal afterlife of Pink Sugar.
Greetings. My name is Eli Beaird, and I'm the creator of Scattered Nexus. This year, we're honored to have 6 new comics join our lineup, bringing our total up to 25 on our journey to partner with 90 comic creators. Each comic has 10 cards to represent them. To play the game, you just need to shuffle together 3 comics to make your deck and battle your opponent. You don't need any dice, tokens, scratch paper, anything like that. You just need the cards and a table, preferably. So we made this box to hold 6 comics, which allows 2 people to play. And also, if you even want more comics, we have several add-ons if you want comics from the previous years. If you like comics or card games half as much as I do, then you'll love Scattered Nexus. Thanks for checking out my Kickstarter. Hope I can count on you for your support, and I'll see you in the next world. Bye.
All right, cool.
You remind me that I need to redo some of that. My face is on there too much. Anyway, I'll get into the criticism later.
I was going to say that was good. That was a good production value. I like that.
Yeah,
Animations are great.
Yeah, my graphic design degree helped with a lot of those animations. But I should have put some B-roll over me talking about the game with people actually playing the game so people can see what the heck I'm talking about. I think I also need to get a sexier voice to do the voiceover. But anyway, but yeah, I've been while we've been here, I've been checking out you guys' Kickstarter, and you've already inspired me to make some changes for my own. Definitely want to add a little bit more visuals, but let me explain what the heck's going on. It's a battle card game. If you're familiar with like Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, Pokemon, anything like that, nerd stuff, this is my answer to a lot of those trading card games. I wanted to play this game with my wife, play card games with my wife, but she always had trouble with the deck building parts. Because in those games, you need to like make a deck of 60 cards and you pick each card one at a time, which just was stressful and tricky to navigate. So I wanted to make a game where you just like make 3 choices and then now you can start playing. You don't need to like spend months figuring out how to play, make the game. So this year we got 6 new comic creators. Each comic has a 10 card stack of cards. And to play the game, you just shuffle your 3 comics together to make an impromptu crossover event of the comics you picked. And then you just use your characters to battle the opponent's characters. And yeah, it's a pretty fun game. Been working on it for, it started 2020, right before COVID hit. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, this year we just made it to our, we just partnered with our 25th comic creator. On our way to partner with 90 total. there's just 10 genres in the game, and each comic represents 2 of the 10. And then like we're trying to do every combination possible, which just makes 100 minus 10. There's math involved. But yeah, it's a super fun project. I'm a comic creator myself, and I always kind of had this desire to be a part of a card game, like, you know, have a game about my comic. But mine was a romantic comedy about an alien in college, which just didn't really make a good battle card game setting. But when I talked to other comic creators, they shared similar dreams. They were like, oh yeah, I'd love to be a part of, you know, some sort of weird game. That's when my idea of like, well, if no one of us is big enough to really have our own game, then maybe if just all indie comic creators got together, then we could make a cool game and, you know, have some success and maybe even use it for like, you know, marketing, promoting, and lifting up the community. And that's what this is. Although that's it. Kickstarter's going a little slow right now, but we'll see how it all turns out.
So Eli, I mean, look, I've dealt with a lot of creators. I don't know how many other people have dealt with a lot of creators. So I mean, how difficult is it to get creators to be like, yeah, you know, I'm willing to jump into that? I mean, what type of hoop are you jumping through?
Well, what I do is I do pay creators. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to tell you how much I pay them, but I do pay them to use their IP. But usually they're pretty open to it. Some creators actually, when I came in, you know, approached them, they thought they were going to pay me to get into the game. So depending on the experience or, you know, what they're working on, they're usually pretty eager. But I think the only caveat is if the creators are working on something else. Like some people are working on like getting a movie or getting an animation or doing their own thing or, you know, partnering with some company. Those creators are like, well, I don't want to get in contract with you because it might mess up my thing I'm working on over here on the side. Even though I tell them, you know, it's non-exclusive, you know, limited use. I even just reuse art from the comic they already have. They don't need to make anything new. I try to make it as easy as I can. But yeah, those are the ones that I've seen buck back when they're like, I got some other stuff I'm working on and I don't want to, you know, risk anything. Gotcha. But I feel like that's one of those things where maybe if the game gets bigger, maybe more people will come around to being like, oh yeah, I've heard of that game. You know, I'll try to hop into it. But yeah, great question.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. You got another 16 days. You're 34% there. You got
right.
Yeah. You got some hustling to do.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. That's the part I suck at the most. Game design, making stories, making my audience cry. I can do that. But when it's like promote and advertise, I'm like, oh, I don't.
Do you have any videos of people playtesting?
I do, usually on my social media.
Put it up in here, man. Put it up in the updates, brother. Okay. Let them see that stuff, man. Let them see that stuff. From what I found out, people on Kickstarter, when they're shopping, they scour, right? They'll do their research. They want to have every bit of assurance possible that this thing is gonna work and happen, right? Pull through, and you know, the more things that can validate that, the more they're going to be inclined to pulling the trigger, man.
That's great. Yeah, I have kind of been set it up and just let it sit. So yeah, getting some fresh things in there is a great idea.
The George Foreman concept of set it and forget it doesn't work in Kickstarter, bro.
Got it. All right, I like that.
All right. And that now here's one man who I know has been hustling, Dave. All right. Do you want me to play this video?
Sure. Just fair warning, it can't get a little loud there. So just so you guys know.
Okay.
Yeah. Where's my wife? Do you hear me? Dismount and walk forward.
Darling, you're home?
And waiting for you with loving arms.
Must you maul her like an animal, Daniel?
Calm yourself, Mrs. Stevenson. I'm just getting into character.
They both insisted upon hiring Daniel's patients to cater. I too thought it would look as unseemly as it does.
Is that all you discovered while befriending Mrs. Schmidt, my dear?
Dr. Schmidt fits the description of our target in nearly every way.
Very fun.
That's a
Looks
cool
good,
logo
man.
too, man.
Thank you. I was trying to make something very cinematic, so
Yeah.
like a movie trailer.
Well, you succeeded, sir.
Thank you.
What genre would you say this falls under? Like,
I mean,
horror?
I would say straight up horror. I mean, it's definitely got a historical bend to
Right.
it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some, historically accurate characters that show up. But it's largely Frankenstein characters, just
Mostly about the monsters.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, it has, like I said, a bit of that historical setting and feel to it. It's very much Civil War esque, not just in the drawing, but the color schemes. I really try to make sure that it feels like a period piece. So, but yeah, it's basically a story about the Frankenstein characters, what happens to them 8 years into the future, and we focus in. Our main character is Igor, but now he is in hiding, living in Confederate Virginia, posing as Dr. Daniel Schmidt, who's a reconstructive surgeon, specializing in giving prosthetic limbs to soldiers who come back with amputations from war. Until the Confederacy finds out about his dark past and convince him to reanimate their dead army. So yeah, it's again a lot of Frankenstein characters show up, including the original monster. Issue 4 is actually basically all about the original monster, where he's been and how he was able to regain a bit of his understanding and memory. But yeah, it's almost to the end. We got 2 more issues to go in the series, and again, I'm super excited to keep forging ahead with it. It's my my baby, my pet project I do on the side. I'm a full-time comic book artist, so it's difficult for me to find the time to do my own work, especially when I'm doing it all myself. So
Feel that.
Nice. So you said there's 6 issues in the series?
Yep, it'll be 6 issues total when it's all finished. However, issues 1 and 6 are double issues. So I wanted to write some. The way I typically approach a story is I like the first issue and the last issue to just be a little longer, in order to hook audiences in the beginning and really give them something to dig their teeth into. But then at the end, really give them a nice long ending that feels like the time they've invested in the story pays off, and it's not too rushed, because we all, I think, understand the medium of comics can sometimes be very quick. You take months and months and months to make these things, and then the reader can read it in 10, 15 minutes. So I wanted to make sure the ending, it took them a while to get through it, and really felt like it paid off. So
all right, cool. I know, are you using it? I mean, obviously, the look you have on the books, is this like a filter to make it look like it's printed on newsprint?
Yeah, so what I did is I added a bit of an old kind of paper texture to it. Not only does it add a sense of sort of warmth to everything, but it also, again, adds a grit and a texture to it. Because this is a period piece, so I wanted to make sure that came through. And when I was originally testing some of the art style, I noticed that a little bit of paper texture really made a huge difference. So yeah,
it looks fab.
No, it really looks nice. Yeah, because it without even looking at it, it feels like the paper has tooth to it, right?
Right.
Like, it's like I'm just looking at a screen. I'm not touching anything. It's fun.
I can tell by the digital brushes you use too. Yeah, you kind of went for that pen on paper type of texture. which is really nice.
Yeah. I really like working with a bit more of a rough kind of ink pen for this, for sure.
All right, cool. Now, I think I saw one of your posts. You said it took your last campaign for this same book was what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a couple of years. So I did issues 1 through 3 were my COVID project. I was hoping that I was going to be able to get all 6 done, but it just didn't turn out that way. But the more I talked to people about the book, the more I was encouraged to do a crowdfunder to get it out there. And so I did an Indiegogo. I think it was about it's 3 years ago now. It's been a long time since I've been able to get back to it. Primarily because, rebounding after COVID, being a full-time artist, as we've discussed tonight, it's challenging to say the least. So, I didn't really feel very confident that I would be able to take enough time away from my day job in order to do anything for myself. But now I'm kind of back on my feet a bit more, and I feel more confident that I can do it. And I've been working on issue 4 for quite a while now. It's been almost 6 months. So, it's going to take a while to get it done because, like I said, I'm doing it all myself. But, I'm back to it. I'm committed to it. I'm definitely going to finish the book for sure.
All right, cool. Listen, it looks great. I know you're already funded.
Yep.
Right? And you got, another 11 days?
Yeah, a little bit more left to go. Hopefully we can get to our first stretch goal, get everybody a nice little monster pin there. It'd be cool. But, we'll see. I'm just happy that it funded. To be perfectly honest, I mean, it was a little slow going there in the first week, but I was able to do some really great promotions, some crossover campaigns with other creators who have really supported me throughout this. And so I really hats off to them for helping me across the finish line. But yeah, as long as I can get the goal and make the books and get them out there, that's really what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it looks great, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, cool. So let's see. Yeah. So John, so the campaign's done, but you have it running so so people can still buy it, right?
No, so I guess you have to put that setting on before you start the campaign, and it's like after it ends, it's like that new setting where they can buy it after the campaign ends. I did not have that set. I did try to change it, but Kickstarter wouldn't allow me to do it. It has to be set prior to everything being launched, which I didn't know. So,
yeah, because you could change prices. I figured out.
Yes, yeah. The closer it gets to the end date, it almost seems like they kind of start taking away different editing capabilities of the campaign. Like I couldn't edit any of my tiers or anything like that. I had somebody reach out and say, "Dude, I love your book, the way it looks, but I'm from the United Kingdom. Can you add the shipping?" I tried to do that, couldn't do it. So
I do know that after people have backed at a tier, they no longer allow you to edit that tier because they would mess up what that person was expecting. So yeah, it takes some forethought. It was a pain for me on my end too.
I mean,
for me, I did like a little sale. So like I noticed that like I had a similar thing where people internationally were complaining about the conversion rate of my digital tier, and so I just made a sale tier. It's just adding a new reward. He said, "Hey, it's just a sale for a little while," and that helped to solve that problem. Even though the other one's there, but if people want to make a cheaper purchase, they can make a cheaper purchase.
That's a good tip to know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, because you can always just make a new tier, and you could just set that as like your international tier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's funded. I mean, I'm super excited to get it out there. This is been about a year in the making or so. It's about a young red cardinal born without wings and how he's got to navigate those challenges in Central Park while the world is also on the brink of destruction. So quite a few little elements playing in there. I grew up with some disabilities, and I think that kind of played into Astro, the main character's disabilities, being born without wings. How does a bird navigate, a landscape that, I mean, he's literally a bird born without wings. You got the one thing that you're supposed to be, and you don't have that, right? So who do you become while also facing multiple other challenges? Crowbar is our main villain in the story. it's a crow. You know, he's got a forked beak just like the end of a crowbar, and it kind of all came together to be the villain. I'm a lot better at writing the villain. Everybody wants the hero, right? But I'm a lot better at writing the villain, so I put a lot of heart into the villain. There's a lot more depth to the villain, while also focusing on someone like Astro, which I was able to kind of put myself into his shoes. So yeah, it was an absolute blast to write. The artist is great, Veronica. She's from Italy. We kind of went for that Don Bluth, you know, the old Disney style. It's definitely got a dark undertone to it, like, you know, all my books. I mean, this was supposed to be a kid's book, and then ended up with a really dark undertone, but not too dark, but it still has quite a dark undertone. So
No, it looks great. So here's a question for you. So if people have missed the campaign,
I am going to be doing an Indiegogo for it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to do like I didn't want to run multiple campaigns at once. So what my goal is to fulfill this one and start the Indiegogo. I have three other books that are completely finished, completely different series, like ready to launch. So I have like a back burner of books I've got to get out there. So I'm already starting on Wingless 2. I'm going to fulfill this, launch that on Indiegogo, promote it while I'm doing everything else. I just have a lot of wheels turning. It's super weird. I started 3 different series at once or at different times, and somehow they all ended at the same time. So it's like all those projects came together. So a lot of work to do in the future, and you know, I'm excited to see where everything goes.
All right, cool. You want me to play the video real quick?
Yeah, so if you play the trailer, it's like 3 minutes and 40 seconds. It's pretty much the whole campaign and story all in one, so I won't have to speak any longer.
Gotcha. Did I not hit play?
Central Park. A place where many flee to get away from the noise of the big city. But if you look closely, there is much more to the park than meets the eye. High in the canopy of an American elm tree, a birdhouse rests. Inside the house, the egg of a young red cardinal begins to hatch. His name is Astro. Fully emerged from his shell, his parents see that he has been born without wings. The young hatchling cries out to his mother. She gently takes Astro under her wing. And the family comes together to start their unique journey. But, as we have learned many times before, nature does not favor the weak. In an alleyway inside the big city, a band of crows flock together. One of them has found something. A vial, left exposed by Phase Pharmaceutical, is a vial filled with a strange compound. And something unnatural begins to occur to the one named Crowbar. Something that will not only change Astro's world, but ours as well.
Exciting.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I like that twist at the end that there's this vial. Now I'm like, there's a good hook. Because you already put the heart in it with the baby bird, and then you put the hook, like what's going to happen next with this weird crow guy. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of backstory there, and we kind of get into that in issue 2. But it's got this, superhero element to it that's coming. That Vial is going to play a big role into a lot of different characters, and it gets pretty nutty pretty quick coming up. So excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I mean, how many issues do you expect the series to be?
Man, I've gone back and forth. I could do a short version, which is 6, or I could just go to 12. There's 2 different versions I'm looking at right now, depending on what feels right. I don't want to rush a story, but I don't want to drag it out either. So
Right.
I'm one of those guys where I know the beginning, middle, and end, and I work out all the details in between as I write. So I'm gonna let those characters make their choices. I've already got issue 2 written. I already hired an editor. I have the whole thing edited. I'm sending that over to my artist this week. She's going to start on that issue, and we're just going to keep going with it. So right now I'm going for that 6 to 8 issue because I feel comfortable with that. But it could, depending on what choices the character makes and other characters that may get involved in this story, it could go to the 12 issues, right? I don't want to rush anything. I'm just going to let it feel natural to me and the reader and see where it goes.
All right, cool. Listen, man, I mean, you're off to a good start. So excellent.
Thank you very much, man.
Now, just out of curiosity, like for that second issue, what are you looking at for like I guess a date for that, like to launch? Like January, February, or sooner?
Yeah, so this one took a year. Your first time working with a new artist, you work through those little things, right? I think we have a really good working relationship now. She knows what I'm looking for, and she's implementing her own beautiful things in as well. So I think we're gonna work much faster. I would say like a max of like 6 to 7 months, hopefully. But again, that depends on those good old indie comic bumps in the road. Hopefully they don't pop up here and there. But I already, I opened up a credit line. I have the money to do it, and I just got to pull the trigger on it. So it's going to be done. This story is a blast and so much fun to write. It's my baby. I have multiple other stories. I'm creating this universe that will play into this world as well. So little factors like that. When I first started, I was like, "Oh, I want to make this Marvel universe." It's much harder than you think. So, just gonna see how it plays out and kind of go from there.
All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Finn, Harrison, do you want me to play this video?
Yeah.
Just before, so we do you guys know Matt Campbell? Are you guys familiar with him? And he does, what's the name of his show?
Action Lines.
So you spin the wheel. Well, anyway, so he reviewed our Kickstarter for us on, I think it was like a couple of days ago, and he had some comments about the video. So today we have spent all day re-editing this video. So if this doesn't blow your socks off, we don't say anything.
No problem. We'll try not to be too judgy.
You found Project Monsters on Kickstarter. This is all about 4 people who are shape-shifting dinosaurs. That's right. They're a hit squad who can turn in and out of a dinosaur.
A dinosaur hit squad? Tell me more.
I will do, Finn. I will tell you way more. We got a shape-shifting guy called Tarb who turns in and out of a Tarbosaurus. We've got a Utah raptor who goes by the name of Violet, and she's one of the super assassins of the world. We got a Triceratops San who's in a power struggle with Tarb. He desperately wants to lead Monster Squad, but Tarb has always been at the top, and Sam wants that position. There's a lot of tensions within the group. And then we have effervescent Quetzalcoatlus who goes by the name of Quetz, and he just likes flying.
Wowee. Those are some cool characters, man. So, what's the story about?
Fantastic question, Finn. Issue 1 starts just after a mission in Lisbon, where the team, that's Monster Squad, have gathered information about the location of a mysterious threat. During the mission, however, Tarb ran off to go see his secret girlfriend.
Whoa, hold on. He abandoned his team to go see his girlfriend?
Yeah, man. And it's not just that. Tarb wants out. He doesn't want to fight anymore. In fact, the guy doesn't even want to be a dinosaur anymore. But he and the rest of the squad were genetically engineered by Gensex. infamous genetic engineering firm, and Gensec make Tame. And without Tame, the squad will be stuck as dinosaurs forever.
Gee whiz, this sounds absolutely incredible. I'm gonna buy 3 copies for my nan.
Do that. Be like Finn's nan. Buy 3 copies.
All right, I love you guys. You guys told me on the book. I'm just saying.
That was awesome. a lot of charm. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
I don't know. I don't know what that other guy told you. I don't know what that other guy told you, but I think it worked.
Yeah, no, I think it was. We went off on about all the different rewards. We totally forgot to talk about the story, basically. And he was like, "You got to put the meat and potatoes in the video." So we put the meat and potatoes in there, I think.
Gotcha.
That was beautiful chaos, man. I like it.
Yeah. Very nice. This is obviously the first issue. How many issues are you looking to produce of the series?
So we're planning 4 volumes of 6 issues, but this is our very first campaign. We're very nervous, so I think we'd be very happy just to get this first book over the line. And I think the Kickstarter has been going fairly well. You know, like it's not been horrendous, and it's not been some days we thought instant funding, other days no. So we have we've got a solid story that we want to tell about just this idea of a worn out warrior he's done. It's 20 years into this. And see, that is us just being silly, really. We just mocked that up for fun. It was, yeah. But we've got, a wonderful team. Our artist Celso is in Brazil, and our colorist is in Russia. And so we're, really global team. And it's just been a lot of fun, and just seeing this come alive it's just been a real amazing experience.
Nice.
Cool. So all right. So what inspired you guys on this particular type of stories? Like, did you guys see a lot of Jurassic Park and James Bond? What was going on?
That explains most of it, to be honest.
Because we've also, this book is kind of is like a pulpy kind of undertone. Like, I really want to write a story that doesn't take itself too seriously. And I think that was really important for us to kind of tell a story about dinosaurs. It kind of helps with the comedy. There's lots of jokes that we've kind of got going through it. But really, the main thing, though, was we wanted to tell this story because I was obsessed with dinosaurs. I've been obsessed with dinosaurs forever. And I love seeing them. And then we started wrapping around characters and finding out what the story was. And I'm a big fan of, the idea of pacifism. So you see all these films, everything's so violent all the time. And it was like, well, can we tell a story where the protagonist doesn't want to do that anymore? How do you tell a story like that? How do you make an action comic where one of the main characters is kind of fed up with the whole thing?
And not only that, the most violent thing possible. A Tarbosaurus is within his genetics and DNA, and he can't help himself from turning into that. Fighting
the monster within, this idea of this kind of this rage that he struggles to control, and becoming consumed by the desire to use his power. Whereas other characters in the team, so San, for example, he cherishes this power. It completely rebuilt him as a person. And he can't believe that anyone would ever want to get rid of that power.
All right, cool. Now, here's a question for you, because we see a lot of the story building stuff, and obviously, I know you don't want to give away too much. I know how that is in a story. Like, what drove this company to make these dinosaur characters? Like what's going on in this world that requires this kind of response, response team?
Yeah. So this is the thing that we've created these with Gensex, this company. So we are there's a lot of the leader or the CEO of Gensex is a guy called Willie Dick III, William Richard, and he inherited his fortune from his father. He's very kind of incompetent leader, and he says, "Make me these shape-shifting dinosaurs," and it happens to happen. But the whole idea is that these guys are used to take out various corporate entities. And the whole thing is that no one believes that they exist. They're a conspiracy. So we have another cutaway sort of C-side story sort of thing, B-side story, where it's essentially characters very similar to Finn and myself, who are podcast hosts on a podcast show in the comic that talk about the conspiracy of the dinosaurs, and they're quite a good means for us to give exposition away. So it's mostly corporate espionage, that kind of thing. World leaders might get their head ripped off by a T-Rex and no one believes that actually happened.
Nice.
I want to call a TV timeout here for a second. I'm looking at the panel when he just mentioned the bad guy's name, Willie Dick III.
Yeah,
and I didn't see anybody budge. That's a hell of a fucking great goddamn name. Come on.
Thank you. We had so much fun.
Willie Dick III. Come on, man. That's good shit. Oh my god.
Oh, dude, that's a clip. I'm clipping this. No, thank you, Jay. I really appreciate that. That's hilarious.
Willie Dick III. Come on. But I gotta ask. Maybe this is foreshadowing. Maybe I'm going in a different direction, right? Does Willie Dick III turn into a woolly mammoth later on? I mean,
dude, that's an idea. That can happen. We can do that.
You see, Tom, this is what I was talking about. 2 weeks ago, we fucking laid out a whole goddamn shark movie, right? At the end of high school. This is where the synergy happens, baby. I'm loving that. Willie Dick III turns into the woolly mammoth. I'm talking conclusion. Let's lean into it. Let's lean into the absurdity. We're writing fucking funny books, guys. Have fun, go with it.
That's the vibe, man. It's like, because we wanted to do robot pirate ninjas, and it's like, can we do robot pirate ninjas? It's like, well, yeah, we can do whatever we want. Like, this is amazing.
Yes.
All right, cool.
I wish Jay would have more energy on these shows.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that dessert he had is still kicking in. So good for him.
It's on the barbecue.
Yeah. So you guys got 25 days left. So you got plenty of time. You guys still got to hustle, but I think you guys are going to be able to make it. It's a really good looking book.
Thank you. So just one question, actually. Whilst I've got this expert team of Kickstarter guys, do you guys panic all the time? Is there ever? Is that just how it is?
It's rough.
Yes. Wait till my campaign pulls up, buddy.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna pull up the one person who probably doesn't need to panic, and he probably panics anyway.
Right, and that's been actually weird for me being in the game designs world. There are so many other ways to make the game, so it's not a panic. It's more of a like, I got to go that route now. I got to freaking pivot and find another way. But this one's been pretty calm. My comic Kickstarter, panicked the entire time. Game Kickstarter, I'm like, all right, there's some other options.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, Tom.
Yeah, listen, it doesn't matter what level you're at. You don't know what's going to happen at any given time on these things. So yeah, there's always like, please God, give me that first good day at least, so I can get the leap. But yeah, we're doing all right on this. We're in the ballpark of what I'd hoped we'd be, and this was something that we did last year when it was our 13-year anniversary, and then people were asking me like, well, are you going to do it again? And I was like, I mean, I don't know. Do you want me to do it again? So it was kind of like I won't say it was on the fly because we had plenty of time to do it, but it wasn't really a plan to make these annual anthologies. So it is still kind of like taking a weird, jump off a building to see if people actually respond to these more than once. So this is going to be a 3-story anthology. Each one of these stories is 10 pages long. There's one from Critter. That was the first thing that you saw. This is our new superhero, social media superhero. Her name is Blue Jay. This is actually her first solo story. She's appeared in a couple of other things, but this is her first solo story. And this one's actually being written by Barry Dutter, who used to work for Marvel back in the day. And then the third story is a spinoff from our Western Legend of Oz: The Wicked West, where we introduce Allison into the series. And this is written by Lori Calcaterra, who does a book called Path of the Pale Rider. And we got the art team from our Oz series to come back, so it all meshes up artistically. But Oz is kind of a sort of a prequel meshing with where we are in the actual series as well, because this story takes place like in issue 2 of the whole series, and we've got like 25 issues of this thing going now. So it's kind of interesting to go back into that early moment and still tie it into where all the readers are, right now at the current part of the story. So it was cool. But yeah, we just unlocked stretch goal number 1 today. We work with Bun Leung, who is the king of chibi art, and so he always produces these chibi art for us that we turn into magnets. So the first one is unlocked. We're getting close to the second one, probably hit the second one by tomorrow, and there's 3 of them. And then if we get past those 3, last year we did stretch goals where we had pinups made for the book. So we would unlock it, and we'll tell all the backers, like, hey, this artist is going to do a pinup, and we'll let them vote on what character they want to put into the book. And so we got to do that 3 times last year. So hopefully we'll get to do that again. And then here's all of our variant covers for the different series. They all have their own different logos for the stories that we're doing. Nia Rufino, CB Zane, Brian Peterson. If you missed the book, you can get the quick catch up. There's the last 2 issues right there. We designed the main covers so that they actually connect as well, which was another sort of just fly by night idea. Let's just make all these things connect. So that came out kind of cool. And then we've got all of our sort of, we call the fan service covers, where they get a little more sexy. We've got we celebrate Cow Appreciation Day every year, which is the second Tuesday of July. So we have our Mujay edition. We have the Big Dog Ink Bikini Team, which is being introduced 1 character at a time. And we'll have the whole cover for you probably like Wednesday. There's our Naughty and Nice for our Devil to Girl from Penny for Your Soul. And then we do our mystery boxes on all these campaigns, where we have an exclusive book that's only in the mystery box. And that's Cupid by Narslio Sousa and Sanju Nivengoon. And then if you just want everything, there's everything. One fell swoop, discounted price. We've got a swag pack if you like stickers and poker chips and stuff. We've just got random old stretch goals laying around. So we'll put those together for you. We have a new metal card set by Nia Rufino. Those are all the covers that she did for Aspen Comics. Her original 6 issues, we sold out of her metal cards, so we did a new set, but we're only doing 50 sets of those. And then, of course, all this stuff is available as foils and metals and all that if you want to get into the fancy editions. That stuff is available. And then, of course, if you are unfamiliar with BDI and you want to dive into the books, we've got trade paperbacks and single issues and things that you can try out to kind of get a sense of all of the different things that we do. Princesses versus Zombies, Kaiju Epic, historical fiction, theology, superheroes, westerns. We kind of do it all. And then we've got a bunch of prints. These are the end of these prints. We only do 50 of these prints. And I went through some of our boxes to see what we had left. So we've got anywhere between 5 to 10 of these things left, and then they're gone. So if you like art prints, these are 13 by 19 art prints. They're all hand numbered. And when they're gone, they're gone. That's the end of them. So they'll be retired either as this campaign ends or as we make our final rounds for the conventions this year. And that is that. And there's all social media stuff at the bottom. You can click on all those links and follow us wherever you want to, wherever you follow your social media people.
And Tom, can I just ask? Obviously, this is a really sort of sophisticated Kickstarter campaign, and I'm just wondering. So, when you go about fulfillment and managing all of this, how is that? Is that you on your own fulfilling these things? That must be quite,
yes, sir. Yes,
that's
sir.
quite a mission, man.
Yeah, I do all of it. Basically, Big Dog Ink is me outside of the fine people that I work with to hire to do all the art and colors and letters and stuff. But all of the company aspect and all of the writing, again, except for in this case where we hired a couple of friends to do some writing, it's all me. I do all the social media. I do all the shipping. I do our live sales that we do on, Facebook. We do live sales and stuff. So it's all me. It's all me. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. There's a reason he owns a lake, guys.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the only area we get to break Tom's chops.
There we go.
Now, I'm curious. Does sex sell? I mean, like that's a
no. Clearly not at all, sir. Clearly not at all.
Right.
Yeah,
I was always thinking my campaigns need more like cleavage. But
well, here's the thing, and it's something that gets talked about in general. sex sells. Yes. I mean, history has proven that. However, it's not a hack, right? It's not a thing where you just arbitrarily say, I'm going to put some boobs on a cover and it just works, right? Because here's the thing a lot of people don't kind of get. Like, porn is free. So in order to sell a comic book, sexy comic book, the people buying it have to care about the character as well. So it's not just a matter of, hey, my character looks sexy. It's, what does she do on the inside of the book, right? And so that's the key. So we've had 14 years of developing a lot of these characters so that they enjoy the sexy cover, but they also know that the insides have legitimate storytelling. It's not just it's not porn on the inside. You know, even if we do a topless cover, which is rare for us, even if we do topless for our variants, the insides are stories. I mean, that's where everything for us starts first. It's storytelling, it's character, it's art, and then it's marketing, right? And part of marketing is understanding your audience. It's about tapping into as many audience elements as you can as well. So, you know, you have to understand that there are people who just come in and all they want is the book, like the regular basic book. That's all they want. Then there's people who will come in and they'll be like, oh, well, you know, I know who Nia Ruffino is, so I'm going to buy her specific variant. And that's all they're going to do. And then you've got people that are true collectors and they're like, I want all of it. How do I get all of this stuff? And then there's just the idea of sort of coattailing, piggybacking on names. So if you were to get named, like, I mean, obviously J. Scott Campbell, you know, we all know who he is. If you can get J. Scott Campbell to come onto your book, that's going to add value because it's going to drag people, his fans, to you. Doesn't guarantee a sale still, but at minimum, it's going to be like, hey, a lot of J. Scott Campbell fans saw my product because he did something for me, right? So like we've got Eric Basildua, and I've worked with like Ryan Otley and Joe Jusko, and you know all these guys across comics. So we've had a lot of eyeballs on us over the years from that, and then within that, I find people on my own and sort of try and bring them in, like Narslio Sousa right there. He's a guy that I found a few years ago, and I've just been pounding him with work. I'm like, give me more of what you're doing. And our fan base is responding to it. They're like, yo, where's more Narslio? We need more of that. So you have to have a nice combination of like, let me get a star name, but then let me also build my ranks with the guys that, you know, I can find on my own and sort of turn into stars as well.
Makes sense. That's cool.
Yep. Tom is well on his way.
For 2 lakes.
Yeah, Tom is a master. All right. And then here we go, Jay. Talk to us. What do we got?
And then I'm driving the struggle bus, ladies and gentlemen. I am riding the bottom of this fucking barrel. This is my 25th Kickstarter campaign, but this is my first one that is not a comic book. This is an enamel pin set. And this maybe should have been an add-on, but I figured I'd highlight her. So this is Betsy, the Zombie of Liberty. She became the mascot of our series, New York versus the World, which is a zombie series set here in New York City. So we have a regular pin for her. We have a glow-in-the-dark pin. We have the initial New York versus the World pin, and then we have our new logo, New York versus the World pin. That variant, did I say it was glow-in-the-dark? It's glow-in-the-dark. It's about 2 inches tall. Those are the sample pieces right in hand. So we got it propped up on an action figure stand. That's what it looks like, you know, real scale against a US quarter. Then we got our factory specs where our buttons. This is pretty much me just cribbing what other enamel pin campaigns have had up there on their site. Again, this is the first time I'm running an enamel pin campaign. And then I have added on the issues that were previously fulfilled in our New York versus the World zombie series. So you can pick up issues 1, 2, and 3. You can pick up the shirts that were part of it. And I'm also letting people know where the money is going, like we do on pretty much every Kickstarter campaign.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Oh, go ahead.
Did you not post this under comics?
I did in the secondary category.
Category, because you're not coming up in the comic book like search thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's posted as a secondary category, brother. Yep. 100%.
And you launched it on Saturday, right?
Yep. And
Yeah,
the
you
emails
don't-
have gone out to everybody. The newsletter was updated. This is the first time I'm not using the backer kit launch point because I figured, I had such a low goal. I'll hit this in the first day. Joke's on fucking me. Right?
Well, I mean, if there's a problem, you
What's
need to relaunch this under the comic book thing first.
Oh, dude, if I wake up tomorrow morning and I don't have at least 5 more backers, this is not even going to make it to the end of the week. And I'll start going with the next book that I have ready, almost for pre-launch. But right, this is also an opportunity for me to test different methods of marketing, right? So I can't just look at it as a failed campaign. We're in it, right? The ship has sailed. How do I keep this motherfucker floating? How do I?
And we just learned something that the secondary category doesn't mean squat.
No,
because if you're not searchable, then irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, anyways, we got a few days left on the fucking campaign. We're only looking to raise $666, right? And I guess there we go. I got a couple of them right here next to me. That was outside.
What was your first category? Did you have it under crafts or design or what?
It is in design. Design. I don't recall. And this is the thing, doing it in design. There was a hell of a lot more hoops I had to jump through than when we do a regular comic book campaign. And I was like, not prepared for the design category. So these are the pins. I don't have the glow in the dark in front of me, which I should have fucking had since I got nothing going out there. But they're ready to go, man. They're ready to go, baby.
So I'll tell you, looking in the design section, there is nothing going on in there as far as funding stuff. And there's another pin that's in there as well. And it's only a little bit ahead of you as far as percentage. So I just think it's the wrong placement.
Yeah.
Even though technically, like, I understand where you were at, like, this is where we need to go. Here's another pin thing that it's only 52% funded. Like, I just don't think that there's traction and traffic in those places. Like there is in the comic book place. So if you were to go back in, I would set it up as like, here's the pin and it's part of this book. So I would like mark it like actively together. So that, do it that way.
Right. The cross promotion. Okay. So my primary category is design, graphic design.
Mm-hmm.
And my secondary category is comics.
Yeah. And when I looked in the design button, you were right there. But when I look in the comic book section, because you and I both launched on Saturday, and I'm there, and you're nowhere to be seen in that category. So secondary category is seemingly wonky.
Yeah, I think if it's not your primary, I don't think it's going to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just going to pull this up real quick. This is my pre-launch page for Dreamweavers. This will be coming out hopefully in another 4 weeks or so. I'll be launching this. This is a comic book I did back in the 90s. Have it recolored, and it's 48 pages. It should be awesome, and I'm going to show this off because this is the book. This is the original comic from '92 when I first printed it, and I think I was 20 years old when I did it. So it's been remastered. This one is in black and white. This is the original book. Just to show you some of the artwork, it's in full color now. So that's going to be that's going to be interesting to show, when I have it coming up. But that's not for another few weeks. So, okay, gentlemen, I mean, the show ran a little long, but actually,
can I talk a little quick about my book?
Did you put something in?
Well, no, just for the new markers. I got the books, all the books in. I'm just gonna send them
go for it, Ozzy.
This week for the Sword and the Sorcerer. This is a Beasley cover. Wait, that's Cardozelli's cover. My cover, number 2. Well, another my cover. and this is for the next campaign. Is going to be number 5. Yeah, actually number 6. I got number 6 too. But the next campaign is going to be this one. The trade paperback contains all the first four books.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. Show off some of the artwork.
Yeah. It's got the
nice.
The Beasley story. I mean, the Beasley cover. The story is mine. The art is mine. And basically all the first.
Wow.
This is from the actual movie.
I see.
And it's got many some pinups too.
How many pages is going to be that trade?
This is 88, I think.
88?
No, 92. Sorry.
92. Yeah. Okay. When do you plan on watching that?
This is I already sent I submitted to Kickstarter and
right
to Indiegogo. Sorry, because that's on Kickstarter. I'm going to start number 2, and on Indiegogo I'm doing that one for for the first 4. Yeah, trade paperback, and then after that I'm going to do the new one for number 5. This one, flexi cover.
Cool. Nice.
But yeah, I actually owe you some books to the first 4. No, the first 2 to 5, right?
Probably.
JD.
Yeah. I don't know.
So I'm gonna send it this week. Not you. Not you, JD.
Sorry about that. Yeah. But, I order books and I get them every now and again. I'm like, oh, I ordered this, and I'm like, it's.
Well, you'll get them next week for sure.
Right. Looking forward to it. Yeah. All right. Jay, I don't know. Do you have a quick question?
No. It would take a little bit of time. We got 10 minutes. No worries. I just want to thank everybody who's out there. I know this is hard shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I know you don't get the immediate accolades, but look at what you've accomplished already. Right? You gotta puff up your chest a little bit for that, man. Take pride in that. You fucking did something that other people are still wishing or figuring out how to do. So take a moment and give yourself the pat on the back that you're hoping other people give you. But give it to yourself first, man, and then build off of that. But don't get too addicted to this, because then you won't be able to keep the fucking lights on. So
yeah, listen, guys. You know what, Jay? I'm gonna ask a variation of the question that I asked last week.
Go.
All right. So this is a real easy one. I want everybody to pick one page. So the question I asked last week is, if you had the choice to own any original piece of comic book cover, what would it be? This week it'll be, what comic book page or splash page would you own from any comic, anywhere?
That is not your own.
Huh?
That is not your own, right?
That is not your own. Yes, that is not your own. Yes. So we'll start with Harrison and Finn. Sir, gentlemen, if you guys could own a comic book, an original comic book page from any comic, what would you own?
Dude, it's T30. You're putting us on the spot. We're running on fumes here. I don't know.
It would probably be something from Afro Samurai for me.
Oh.
Because that was the comic that was like, this that inspired me so much, and that I've read. So, and I had to hunt down the original, because they reprinted it recently, and I had the originals, and I gave them to my ex-girlfriend as a and she didn't even read them, and I just need the art, So I don't know which page that I would pick, but something from that one of those volumes, yeah, for sure, would be my answer.
Yeah. At the moment, the only thing I can think of is the fight scene between Invincible and Omni-Man in like the 4th volume.
Nice.
That was like the buildings crashing down, the train station falling apart. That screams to me at the moment.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. And Harrison, I guess that's why she's the ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. She got a bunch of my books as well. She never gave them back.
I got you a copy of Afro Samurai for your wedding, though, didn't I?
You did, yeah,
I did.
you did, yeah. There you go. I got my new girlfriend.
Good man. Ozzy, what comic book page would you want to own?
Cover for X-Men #1. The Jim Lee.
Okay. Oh, the
Williams.
what is it? Like, it's not even a triptych.
It's
like,
a right
like
folder.
5 pieces. Yeah. All right. That's fair. That's fair.
I think he already sold.
Yeah, trust me, that thing's like probably $500,000. John, what are your, yeah, John, what are your thoughts? What would you like to own?
Right now, man, I could probably just pick one of the pages from Harrison and Finn's book, and that would probably be me. I'd be happy with that right now.
We can make that happen.
No, I mean, I love, dude. When you're speaking dinosaurs, I'm like, bro, I love dinosaurs and just the humor and everything about it, man. But no, being in the indie comics world, I don't know that right now. There's one from my buddy's comic that I'd probably take, but you probably haven't heard of it. So it's from Artificial #2. It's like a spread page of Vincent Van Gogh with his mind just being like blown, and you just see all this just insanity happening. I'd probably pick that one.
All right, cool. Dave?
I would probably go with one of the Kingdom Come covers that Alex Ross did. One of those. I don't want to be greedy and get the whole,
Yeah. No, I got you. Eli?
I was having trouble with this one. Mine is all manga references, but I like it would be one full color spread from either Berserk. I just really love that artist. If you don't know it, you should look it up. It's really inspiring what he can do. That or one from Oda from One Piece, one of his title covers. They just know how to put a lot of stuff in like their composition. It's really impressive. Oh, there we go. There's Berserk. Yes.
Something like this.
Yes. But yeah, maybe one. I know there was a character that had he was like a werebear with horns. I really like his design. If I could get a nice full page spread of him squaring off against Guts, I think that would be awesome. Yeah, I can dream. That's a good dream to have. I like that.
Yep. Especially, I don't even think those guys sell their page because I think Kodansha has possession.
Yes, they own them, and they're probably in museums or like behind some glass somewhere.
Yeah, it's a shame. Jay, what would you?
Captain America 334.
The chamber.
Okay.
The cover. It's after Steven Rogers gave up the shield, and it has Lamar Hoskins and John Walker. It's a new team jumping towards the reader's perspective. That run of Captain America solidified it for me as a kid. I got almost every issue from 312 to 350 off of newsstands, right? I wasn't going to comic book shops then and spinner racks. And that one particular issue, I got it as a kid in Puerto Rico, right off the newsstands. I was in town with my grandmother, one of my grandmothers, excuse me. And she's like, oh, look at that. One of them looks like you and one of them looks like me. Even though it was a guy, my grandmother was Afro-Latina with a big blowout and being one of her little chicks, you know what I mean? Just walking through the town, picking up stuff to take home with me and my sister. And then here we are. I find this comic book, and I had a bonding moment. And that's one of the few bonding moments I have with her. No, that's the only bonding moment I have with her over comic books. So that's a special thing for me, and it ties into to where I go with all of that. Other than that, almost anything Arthur Adams, man. God damn it.
All right. We said one, sir. You picked it.
Help me.
Let's move on. Tom.
I'll show you my Art Adams stuff next time, Jay.
Are you serious?
So I actually, so as far as the cover goes, I actually own my Grail. The first comic book I ever bought was the Marvel Godzilla #16 by Herb Trimpe. It's this big shot of his head, and there's like cowboys like trying to lasso his teeth and stuff.
Nice.
So I actually managed to get a hold of that cover. So that was my forever Grail. But if something that I don't have, it would be Transformers #8, the Dinobots cover. Okay. That would be the cover. Insides, there was a Godzilla series done by Dark Horse where they sent him through time for a while, and one of the issues, he ends up sinking the Titanic. And so there's a page that Brandon McKinney did that's a big splash page of Godzilla coming up under the Titanic and breaking it in half. And I met him at a con one time, and I was like, so do you have that? He's like, no, I don't have that. I know what you're talking about. And I was like, son of a bitch. So that's long gone. But he did have another page that had like a little panel of the Titanic and Godzilla like standing next to it. So I grabbed that one. So I've at least have the consolation prize. But that splash page I would love to have, and I've never seen it available for sale anywhere. So somebody's hoarding it.
Somebody's hoarding it. That's true.
Yeah.
I've always wanted a page from The Rocketeer by Dave Stevens, and it's the page with Betty Page. She's on it, and she's turning, and she's looking over her shoulder, and it's like one big figure of her. And that's the one page that if I could have any comic book page, that would probably be it. All right, so there you go, gentlemen. We made it to hour 2. Thank you so much. You guys are all awesome. Ozzy, let's start with you. Where can we find you and your work, sir?
Yeah, you can find me on any social networks under Ozzy Longoria, Gemini Comics on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm everywhere under Ozzy Longoria or Gemini Comics.
All right, cool. Harrison, Finn, where can we find you and your work, gentlemen?
You want to go?
Yeah. You can find us everywhere at Warped and Torn Comics. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, The Kitchen Sink. We're everywhere. And
Twitter is probably our main haunt. That's where we spend most of our time. We've both got personal accounts on Twitter as well. So then we do. I had a wonderful nerd dinosaur chat with the random person. So it's been lots of fun being on Twitter. Yeah, Twitter's probably the best place.
All right, cool. John?
Right here at John Writes Comics for Twitter, probably where I'm most active. And then John Writes Comics right underneath that is my Instagram. Those are my 2 most active social media accounts. So, yeah.
All right, cool. Dave?
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the handle you see on the screen, Dave Swartz Art, and my website's also daveswartzart.com.
Cool. Eli?
Yeah, you can find me at Eli Beaird. Actually, I have a couple things. I do too many things. But you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. If you look up Eli Beaird, you can find my personal thing. If you look up Slim Studios, you can find my art and things like that. And yeah, of course, go check out the Kickstarter. I'm going to be updating that soon, but yeah, please check that out.
All right, cool. Mr. J?
UnstoppableComics.com. You can find all of my social media links on the website. And Saturday nights here on YouTube, Comic Book Streamland, Sundays with Calderon, and then, the Kickstarter going on for Betsy, the Zombie of Liberty. So, if you like zombies but still want a little something cute or maybe something for the missus, grab a pin.
There you go. Mr. Tom?
Pretty much we live on Facebook, but we're Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all those places. But we kind of, everything starts on Facebook and then filters outward from there. If you like to kind of watch how the soup is made, we do have a Patreon that takes you through all the steps of everything that we do, logos and lines to inks to colors and the whole thing. So if you like to watch it be built, that's what our Patreon is for.
All right, cool. And you can find me here most Sundays with Mr. J, sometimes with Mr. Tom and various other people. Instagram, TikTok, not TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all those different places under JD Calderon, theoswaldchronicles.com, telltalesonline.com, and very soon back on Kickstarter. And just remember, everybody, please, in the show notes, there are links. All those links reach out to these creators and their campaigns. Please click on those links. Go check out those campaigns. Go pick up some of these books. These creators are working hard. They're doing fantastic books for you. So please go pick up those books. And thank you so much. Just remember, buy more indie comics, especially ours. Have a good night, guys.
Later.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Later.